One of the most common misunderstandings about reverse mortgages is that the loan only comes due when the borrower passes away. That's not how the program works. The loan becomes due when the borrower no longer lives in the home, and that can happen for reasons that have nothing to do with death. Moving in with family, relocating permanently, entering a nursing facility for an extended stay, all of these can trigger repayment under the right circumstances. Every reverse mortgage is built around one central requirement, and this video is about that requirement. Your home must remain your principal residence. We're going to walk through what that means in practice, how long you can be away, what happens in a healthcare situation, and what the loan does when the property is no longer your primary home. A reverse mortgage eliminates the monthly mortgage payment, but it does come with ongoing obligations, and the most important one is that the home must remain your principal residence for the life of the loan. Principal residence means the place where you live the majority of the year. So with a reverse mortgage, you can only have one principal residence at a time, and that residence must be the home with the loan on it. Reverse mortgages are designed for homeowners who continue living in the property. They are not designed for investment properties, vacation homes, or homes that sit vacant. As long as the home remains your primary residence and the other loan requirements are met, the reverse mortgage stays in place. When that changes, the loan typically must be repaid. Being away from your home doesn't automatically mean you've violated the principal residence requirement. People travel, visit family, and spend extended time away for personal reasons, and the reverse mortgage rules account for that. If you're away from the home for more than 2 months but less than 6 months, and there's no co-borrower living in the home, the key step is notifying your lender or servicer so that they know you still occupy the home as your principal residence. Communication matters here because servicers are required to monitor occupancy as part of the loan program, and letting them know about an extended absence prevents unnecessary confusion. Most borrowers never run into problems during normal travel periods as long as the property remains their primary home. The situation becomes more complicated when the absence becomes longer or permanent. If you are away from the home for more than 6 months for non-medical reasons and no co-borrower is living in the property, the home is generally no longer considered your principal residence. When that happens, the loan typically must be repaid. Repayment usually happens one of two ways. Either the home is sold and the loan balance is paid from the proceeds, or ownership is transferred to the lender through what's called a deed in lieu of foreclosure, which allows the borrower to voluntarily hand over the property and avoid the formal foreclosure process. It's also worth knowing that anyone else living in the home at that point would need to move out unless they are able to pay back the loan. The threshold is different for medical situations, and we'll cover that here in a moment. One situation that comes up frequently is a borrower deciding to move in with relatives. As housing needs change with age, it's not uncommon for someone to move closer to family for support or to share housing with children or other relatives. From the reverse mortgage program's perspective, the question is whether the home with the loan is still the borrower's principal residence. A borrower can only have one principal residence at a time, so if the borrower permanently moves to another home, even if that home belongs to family, the reverse mortgage property is no longer their principal residence and the loan must be repaid. That repayment typically happens through a sale of the property. If the home sells for more than the outstanding loan balance, the remaining proceeds belong to the homeowner or their estate after the loan is satisfied. Healthcare situations follow a different rule, and it's one many borrowers don't know about until they need it. If a borrower moves into a healthcare facility such as a hospital, rehabilitation center, a nursing home, or assisted living facility, the program allows for a longer absence than the standard 6-month threshold. The limit in a healthcare situation is 12 consecutive months. So if the borrower is away from the home for more than 12 consecutive months in a healthcare facility and no co-borrower remains living in the property, the home is no longer considered the borrower's principal residence and the loan becomes due. The same repayment options apply, typically a sale of the property or a deed in lieu of foreclosure. There's an important exception that applies in both of those scenarios. If a co-borrower remains living in the home and continues meeting the loan obligations, the reverse mortgage can stay active even if the other borrower has permanently moved out or transitioned into long-term care. The co-borrower may also continue receiving loan benefits depending on the payout structure that was set up at origination. This is why housing counselors consistently recommend that spouses who both live in the home apply as co-borrowers when possible, because it protects the surviving or remaining spouse's ability to stay in the home if one of them passes away or moves into a care facility. One part of the principal residence requirement that surprises some borrowers is the annual occupancy certification. Each year, the lender or servicer will send a notice, often a postcard or mailed form, asking the borrower to confirm that the property is still their primary residence. Signing and returning it promptly matters. Ignoring it creates unnecessary confusion about whether the property is still occupied and can trigger follow-up that could have been avoided entirely. So if the borrower has a spouse listed as an eligible non-borrowing spouse in the loan documents, the certification will also ask for confirmation that the couple is still married and that the spouse continues to live in the home as their principal residence. An eligible non-borrowing spouse is a spouse who is not a co-borrower on the loan but qualifies under HUD's rules to remain in the home after the borrower moves into a healthcare facility for more than 12 consecutive months or passes away. When the borrower permanently moves out and no co-borrower remains in the home, the reverse mortgage becomes due and payable. At that point, the loan must be repaid, and families typically have a few options depending on the situation. If the home sells for at least the loan balance, the loan is fully paid and whatever is left after satisfying the balance belongs to the homeowner or their estate. If the home sells for at least the appraised market value, but that amount falls short of what's owed, the mortgage insurance associated with the reverse mortgage covers the difference, which is one of the non-recourse protections built into the HECM program. So if the loan is already in default and due and payable notice has been issued, the home may be sold for 95% of its appraised value or the amount owed on the loan, whichever is less, with mortgage insurance covering any remaining balance that the sale doesn't satisfy. A deed in lieu of foreclosure is also an option, allowing the borrower or their estate to just voluntarily transfer the property back to the lender instead of going through the foreclosure process. The path that makes the most sense depends on the borrower's situation and the decisions made by the borrower or their family at that time. If you're considering a reverse mortgage and want to understand how the occupancy rules apply to your specific situation, especially if you're thinking about future moves, travel, or long-term care, use the link below to book a call with my team and we'll walk through it together. If you want clear, reliable explanation of mortgage programs and how they apply to real decisions, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. My goal is to give you accurate information so you can make informed decisions with confidence and ultimately win with Wade. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.